Jared Monroe, who you may know as Not Gay Jared of Louder with Crowder, Steven Crowder's show, tweeted out legal update. I won. And if you don't remember what this case was all about, I'll play like 2 minutes of this clip, him talking about it, and then read a summary of the case from his lawyer.
Uh, Now, here's the big question, is what was their entire reason for this harassment and the basis for their claims? These documents, an NDA. Some more context.
So that was the big thing. They essentially, Crowder and his company harassed the crap out of this guy so that they could get him to sign an NDA. That's the bulk of it.
I signed this separation agreement, an NDA, containing a strict and very broad non-disparagement clause many years ago. I voluntarily left my job after deciding I could no longer put myself or my growing family through the toxic and abusive work environment I had endured for years. This place was and is to this day a workplace rife with sexual misconduct, degeneracy, and aggression.
Oh, they make the captions go away so quick. Rife with sexual misconduct, degeneracy, and aggression. Not great. You might say a hostile workplace.
Sexual misconduct, degeneracy, and aggression. The things I saw, the things done to me, and the things I witnessed my employer.
Things done to him. I mean, that does not sound good, right? After those adjectives that he used to describe it, he should not say things that were done to him.
Due to others were disgusting, shocking, and utterly indefensible. I have the receipts. This all took a serious toll on my personal health. To the point near the end of my tenure, the work environment had become so toxic that I had to be admitted into a heart hospital. And after many tests, I was ultimately put on anti-anxiety medication. This condition was something new to me. I had no history of it prior to my employment there and have never been treated for it since. Now, when I decided to resign, my
I mean, that's pretty bad. You got a heart condition that only existed while at this workplace. I mean, that's pretty serious. A lot of people get stressed from their job, but not like that.
wife was pregnant with our firstborn child. It was a terrifying position to be put in, but I absolutely knew that I could not be the husband or dad I was called to be for them in my current state. Something had to change, and if I couldn't change my work environment, then it was time for me to remove myself from it. I was fully aware that willfully resigning would mean I would forfeit any sort of severance. I trusted that God would provide. What I had not anticipated is how much it would cost me to quit. This is where my first experience with legal abuse began. Starting from the day I delivered my notice of resignation, I was put on the phone with company lawyers, and the good cop, bad cop coercion campaign to get my signature on an NDA was well underway.
So he kind of goes a bit more into what exactly they were doing to harass him and trying to get the NDAs. But this article was released the same day that Jared tweeted out that he won his case, and it's a real quick summary. So just go through this. In October of last year, Steven Crowder began pursuing a variety of frivolous legal actions against former employee Jared Mettello, aka Jared Monroe. This included filing a Rule 202 petition, which illegally sought to use the tools of judicial discovery to obtain information about Jared's protected activities, and filing a lawsuit seeking to enforce an illegal non-disparagement clause against Jared. That Rule 202, I looked it up briefly. My understanding, it's like a souped up ability for people to go to the court and say, hey, we need to interview this guy for this case that we're trying to build, like pre-trial discovery sort of stuff. But that Rule 202, that's in Texas where Crowder's business is, it's worse than it is in most states. The ability to like drag people into court and stuff. In April of this year, acting as Jared's legal representative, I filed an unfair labor practice charge at the National Labor Relations Board, alleging that Crowder maintains severance agreements with former employees that contain illegal confidentiality and non-disparagement clauses, and that Crowder filed an illegal lawsuit seeking to enforce an illegal non-disparagement clause against Jared. So he did not want Jared to say any disparaging remarks. You're not allowed to talk bad about the company. And the fact that Crowder was so set on making sure that Jared was not allowed to say essentially anything or even get a job in media for 2 years. That was also part of some of the stuff that he signed. He wasn't allowed to get a job in media for 2 years. Um, After I filed the ULP charge, Crowder and his attorneys apparently realized that filing a lawsuit seeking to enforce an illegal contract clause was a mistake and withdrew that lawsuit. In its place, they filed a second lawsuit alleging not that Jared had violated a contractual non-disparagement clause, but instead that he had committed common law defamation against Crowder. So that's also a good sign when you you back out of the initial charge entirely and then go for another one. That really makes it seem like there you feel you were wronged in some way and it needs to be resolved through the courts. Definitely not just some nonsense or you trying to mess with his life as much as you can. The statements that Crowder alleged as defamatory are the following text messages that Jared sent to Crowder's ex-wife. I think there's a scenario where several of us would be willing to attest to all of that. I just don't want him anywhere near those kids. That really disturbs me. As I noted in an earlier piece about this legal battle, Crowder's defamation lawsuit was doomed to fail because, among other things, it clearly runs afoul of the Texas anti-SLAPP statute, the Texas Citizens Participation Act. And SLAPP is basically when the rich people just keep filing every little lawsuit or whatever they can think of just to drain you of money and ruin your life because they have more money than you. That's what SLAPP is. Yesterday, the judge in the defamation lawsuit reached the same conclusion and ordered one, that Crowder's lawsuit be dismissed with prejudice, that Crowder be required to reimburse Jared for $43,000 of legal expenses, and that Crowder be required to pay an additional $15,000 in sanctions in order to deter Crowder from filing any similar actions in the future. So, you got to pay him, what, $58,000 there or so? But that actually is not all, because Crowder has already indicated that he is going to appeal the decision. If that appeal fails, which it will, he will be on the hook for an additional $35,750 of legal fees per the district court order. Beyond the defamation lawsuit, the ULP charges against Crowder are still pending at the NLRB. In that proceeding, Crowder will have to answer for filing the Rule 202 petition and earlier lawsuit attempting to enforce an illegal non-disparagement clause. Under current law, both actions violated Section 8A1 of the National Labor Relations Act, and the remedy for those violations is the reimbursement of Jared's legal expenses. So yeah, he's going to be potentially paying Jared, well, it sounds like almost certainly be paying Jared $100,000 or so. And then while I was looking at this, Hillary Crowder, Stephen's ex, who you probably remembered the video of her pregnant and he's smoking a cigar sitting on the couch and telling her that he's never loved her because he's never felt love from her. But Hillary responds to Jared's tweet saying, legal update I won. And she says, Jared was never just an employee. He was and is a friend and little brother. Many years ago, most days were spent, the three of us, working in a little two-bedroom rental house. He came everywhere with us from Ireland to Hawaii, and in many ways, having Jared around was my security blanket. What you don't see in the carefully cherry-picked private text messages, over 100,000 that were taken from my phone, was the pity and genuine sadness that we shared over someone we both thought we knew and loved. Thankful justice has been served in a small way, but this story will always be a sad one. Still, I'm so thankful for the friends I made along the way, at Jared Monroe and his family, chief among them. Russ. So, not really surprising given rumors that we've heard, but Hillary Crowder says Jared and Stephen more than friends, more than just friends. She says a familial thing, but I don't know. I don't know how familial it is between the two men in that triangle there. But so then I was looking through this Hillary Crowder lady's page, and she has essentially become an anti-abusive relationship advocate. So her experience with Crowder was so bad that it's like kind of her main thing that she does on this Twitter, that she talks against abusive relationships and stuff like that. Um, but she also will retweet stuff like this, the Tree of Logic, saying, ladies, the sooner you realize that Myron Gaines, aka Armru Fuddle, is gay, the harder you will laugh at him. He wants women eliminated so that he doesn't have to compete with us for men. I'll pay anyone 5 bands if you can produce footage of Myron having this much fun with a woman. And, you'd see him having a very good time and very good moves. I like this. I'm going to have to incorporate that. And here we go. Just some boys being boys, as ABBA would say. But yeah, thank you, Tree of Logic. And so Hillary responds to that tweet and says, the logical conclusion is that many of the loudest voices in the manosphere that hold such contempt for women are deeply closeted. They have very little, if any, attraction to women, even if they never act on it. Their true desire is to be with another man. I also know I could be totally wrong here. My logical conclusion is really only a theory. But what do you think she's basing that theory on? Probably her personal experience, perhaps with her ex-husband? I don't know. Interesting tweet to be making out, especially given all of the rumors surrounding Steven Crowder and his desires and proclivities. So, and this is just a little bit of a taste of the kind of stuff that she tweets about now, because I mean, just imagine the shame that you would, I hope you would feel shame if, you date someone for a few years, potentially even get married, and then after breaking up, your ex becomes an anti-abusive relationship advocate on their Twitter. They didn't do that before. They start doing it after you guys break up. I mean, oof. Yeah, you gotta feel some shame, or I mean, maybe just rage that you think this person's lying about you. But uh, either way, so she's reacting to this tweet from Scott Tyler, who says, "My first is 8 weeks old. I can see why men cheat at this time. My wife completely ignored my existence for the first few weeks, and we had to have arguments to get her to even acknowledge me, not to mention be intimate. That's the biggest challenge. Baby is easy." So she responds, what he admits to is actually on the mild end of the spectrum. A truly abusive person will ramp up their behavior during pregnancy and postpartum because they feel their needs, which will always trump your needs and the infant's needs, are not being met. Their behavior will become more extreme. This is because they are trying to gain control in a situation, a home with an infant, that feels out of control to them. This may also be the first time where they see your attention go into another person, the baby, before them. So, interesting that she chooses this to respond to, because uh, I very much get the impression that Crowder is a very controlling guy. So I think that this is probably relevant to her relationship with him. She goes on, the escalation can look like spouse raging with newborn present, spouse who demands you neglect picking up or caring for a newborn and first tending to their own needs, spouse actively pursuing other women, spouse cutting you off financially. And, you'll note that Hillary did not, they had one car between the two of them. This millionaire couple had one car. So, limiting her ability to move freely. Raging with newborn present. We haven't seen video of that, but he was perfectly happy to berate her while she was pregnant, visibly pregnant. Um, and, you know, cheating, pursuing other women or men. I think she probably didn't want to put that on there because it would be too on the nose. Then people would really be talking about, oh my goodness, Hillary just about confirmed that Crowder is a man lover. The problem with love and respect. There is a common theme in the Christian community of men need respect and women need love. This simplistic thinking fails to take into account that if a man does not respect a woman, he is incapable of loving her as an equal. At best, he will infantilize her and love her as a parent loves a child and begin treating her in some respects as a child. At worst, he will cease to love her at all because he sees her as so beneath him. I don't see this problem as going the other way around because love flows out of respect. It's a natural response to respect. And also, another thing that demonstrates Crowder wanting to be a controlling, always be in control, is Dave Landau, who was a co-host on Crowder's show for a while. His appearance on Michael Malice's show, he gives some pretty revealing details about what it was like to work with Crowder.
And then, it became a little weird because a light was put in where it was his rant button. And it was basically a Dave don't talk button.
Wait, so there's literally a light bulb? What color was the light bulb?
There was 4 lights in a row.
There were
And when
3
it,
lights.
I'm serious. And when it was hit, I wasn't supposed to talk. And
Do
they
you remember,
said,
was it like a regular colored light bulb or was it like red?
it was like a yellow, a
Okay.
pretty bright yellow, like
Okay.
like yield.
So Crowder literally had a do not talk button light combo because he needed to have absolute control of the conversation at the press of a button. I mean, this guy's just an absolute psycho, just a complete psycho.
So it's like off camera, but in your eyes.
Oh, and it's especially ridiculous because I am not a Dave Landau fan. I definitely say I'm a Dave Landau hater, but how to be a co-host. That's he did that with Kumia for years, and there's he was never, as far as I'm aware, I never heard or saw anything about this. And whenever I did see clips, Dave would only be interjecting, throwing stuff in there asides that made sense. Like I never saw or heard anything about him trying to control the show or take over it or be the star. But Crowder still felt the need to have a light to say, no, nobody else is allowed to talk but me.
It's the eyesight.
Yes. And
And would he be the one pressing the button, or was there a producer pressing the button?
he would press it.
So like Mr. Burns, like he had a button under his desk or the table, and when it's Steven's turn to talk and Dave needs to shut the F up, he presses this button.
Yes.
How do I get this to happen? Because frankly, we're at 13 minutes in and you're already on my last nerve. This is with Michael Malice.
Aren't you hitting it now? Oh, that's just Zoom doing it. Yeah, he had that. Well, and then I was told that he's like, well, that was always there, and I'm like, no, I would have noticed the light and been told about it. That's
Folks, you know how
So there, I mean, you might even say he was gaslighting Dave Landau there. He was telling him the reality that he experienced was not what actually happened. And we got another clip here where Dave goes into more details.
I can even just read it. It's just,
Yeah, read it.
and this was sent to my agent, and it's like, this is just simply the contract. It was
I think I got that sped up a little much, yeah. Sorry. Oh, but I guess he's reading a document from Crowder here. Is not distracted or anything here. He's reading the actual documentation.
William, just need a yes. I agree on all the revised items from Dave, and this is what Jeff showed me at lunch. And it was, once I get with our legal team on the revised contract below, it stays on salary, so no extra money. Moves to Texas, moves his family to Texas by the new year, first week
Wait,
of
so
January.
I'm sorry, part of your contract, a proposed contract, was that your family has to be moved across state lines,
Correct.
including your kid. You have a son. How old's your son?
8, 7 at
Okay.
the time.
Okay. So pull him out of school during the
Yeah.
school year, and he's coming to Texas. Okay.
Yeah. Dave is here every week unless he knows.
Like, just why? First of all, would it need to be done right then? Also, I'm pretty sure Dan Landau commuted from like Wisconsin to New York when he co-hosted for Anthony. So I don't know why he would need to uproot his entire family in the middle of the year, the middle of the school year. Unless Steven Crowder is just a control freak, an absolute control freak who needs to have his very specific orders fulfilled so that he can feel good, feel powerful.
Notifies us well in advance for a show, just like a doctor's appointment. Can't be gone any more than every third weekend.
No, wait. So let's break this down also. Steven has started touring as a comedian.
Yes.
Steven is no dummy. Steven is very well aware that you and every comic, weekends are when you tour, hit the road, you make the money. So he is very clearly taking that secondary or even primary, possibly at this point, source of income from you, because you're just going to be sitting in Dallas for no reason, because it's not like you're doing shows on the weekends with Crowder.
Right. And gone every other third weekends means every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And then
Yeah. So isn't that interesting? Steven Crowder was trying to restrict and control Dave Landau's income streams. Do you think maybe he would do anything along those lines in his relationship with his ex-wife? Kind of is similar to the only having one car between the two of them. And actually, I think that reminds me. Yeah, this one right here. It is wise for stay-at-home mothers/wives to have and maintain a skill set that makes them employable in the workforce if absolutely necessary. Disaster, disability, or death of a spouse can befall anyone. A man that wants you incapable is a fool or a red flag. So again, a specific thing that she felt the need to call out was partners that try to restrict your income or reduce it, take it away. And then Michael Malice says that Dave Landau wanted to, or that Dave Landau says that Crowder wanted to do that to him as well. I don't know. Makes a lot of sense that he would try to do that in his relationship with Hillary.
writes for show every
Well, I got.
day.
I'm sorry. I just want to break this down. Was it ever said to you or intimated to you that your touring is affecting somehow your performance or writing for the main show?
Oh, my writing? No. They felt that I had nodded off a few times, which really only happened maybe once or twice on a Monday because of like a delayed flight.
Okay.
But
Okay.
tough shit. I mean,
Right.
that's
Okay.
my opinion. I don't care.
Okay.
Like, it,
I mean, that is points against you, Dave. If you want to commute that way, then you do have to be up and at 'em when you're there. But I mean, if it's 2 days, that's fairly reasonable.
like Anthony never would have cared.
Okay.
Anthony was so full. Like,
Well, Anthony is a pushover bitch, okay? You can't say, well, Anthony would be okay with it because he was okay with everything to the point where it ran his business into the ground, all right? Refused to have a single hard conversation ever and had to have Gavin McInnes, his buddy, bail him out and be the bad guy, fire everybody, and absorb his company.
like Anthony would promote my stand up where I don't even think I would really have to.
Okay.
That's how, even when you look back at the Opie and Anthony days, that's how everybody was making money.
But at the same time, it's also like if you're going to be up at 7 or what o'clock, you have to be there at 7. You're not exactly going to be all chipper. It's not like you're.
No, and I'm writing on the plane too.
Yeah.
And so I'm always working. Like there's not one assignment that I didn't turn in, and I have every screen grab to do that. There's nothing that I ever
And in fact, you're
fail
writing a
on.
lot of sketches that just didn't even get greenlit, so you're doing extra work in addition to what did get greenlit.
Oh yeah, that's the next part, which is writes for show every day in the form of sketches, in-studio bits, pulling from previous sketches, previous show ideas, and that can be turned into sketches. So that's just busy work that I did every day just for the sake of busy work, which I'll be honest, I hate. It seems so pointless.
Yeah, of course you hate it. Because that, I mean, that's just a clear example of Crowder, again, just wanting to have control. The ability to tell people, and they do it. He gets off to that. We'll go back to a couple more of Hillary's tweets. There is an idea circulating among young men that women are diabolical gold diggers. We are playing 4D chess by marrying men that have no money because we have a master plan to wait for him to become rich so we can divorce him and take half. This is not tethered in reality. My money. If anyone makes this statement regarding assets obtained during a marriage, it tells you everything you need to know about their skewed beliefs, about the true meaning of marriage and the value of wives and motherhood. In the event of divorce, there are 9 states that have laws that protect an individual's assets that were there before the marriage. I have no objection to these laws. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, she received the criticism of being a gold digger from all of this, but I think we have enough contextual evidence to be pretty sure that this guy was an awful, awful person to be in a relationship and almost certainly abusive. You will never regret making every effort and doing anything and everything you can possibly think of to try to save your marriage and to love your spouse correctly. The temptation comes, though, when you put your spouse and marriage above even God. If out of desperation you are willing to do immoral or harmful things to appease a hard-hearted spouse, to lie to yourself and others, well, that is never a price worth paying, and that type of love is not love at all. So yeah, just even more controlling. eh, But it sounds like he wanted to even like get her to do evil things for her or for him. Make her compromise her morals. It is an irreplaceable and high calling for a woman to choose to stay home to care for and nurture her family. However, the current online trad wife fetish, based on nostalgia for the 1950s, where the appearance of perfection and having it all together as a wife and mom was everything, should not be our gold standard. A jaw-dropping number of women from this era were on barbiturates known as Mother's Little Helper. Create a beautiful, warm, and loving home for the people that reside in it, not the Instagram following to keep up with the Joneses. So, yeah, and this to me reminds me of how he told her that she'd never performed her wifely duties in that video where he's yelling at her while she's pregnant. He says, you don't perform any of your wifely duties. So I think this again, she's speaking to something that happened where he was expecting this 1950s caricature of the super mom. Many of the men most obsessed with women being trad wives probably don't even know how to do traditionally masculine things themselves, like fixing a car or basic handiwork around the house. I gotta be honest, I cannot see Steven Crowder being very handy around the house. He seems like he would think it's beneath him, really. That's the impression I get from the dude. To be clear, I'm very pro being a stay-at-home mother and wife. What I am against is encouraging the pornified caricature of being one. I'm so sorry. After becoming a single mother, words I never thought could possibly describe me, I have much remorse for the judgment I held for the women that find themselves in this position. Every story is different. Many are simply doing the best they can, loving their children and creating a happy home under circumstances that are not ideal. So, yeah, that's a good just way to cap it off that even though this was one of the worst things she could ever imagine was being a single mother, Steven Crowder is such an absolute freak that she felt that she had no other choice than to go that route. And Yeah. I think I'm fairly convinced that the dude is just an absolute piece of garbage who has no respect for his partner or the mother of his child. And yeah, he just seems like a piece of garbage human all around.